Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast, and this is an Indie Talk week, and that means I have my good friend and co-founder with me, Nick Buggs, along with our super esteemed guest today, Joshua Lastine. Joshua, say hello.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here. So excited to talk to the Make It podcast and talk to indie filmmakers. I've been working in Hollywood now going on 13, 14 years, and working with indie filmmakers directly is day to day what I do and what I'm very passionate about. I've worked on a lot of high profile things like Amazon's Transparent, Mozart in the Jungle, Patriot, Hand of God, doing business and legal affairs. I've worked on large blockbuster films, but since the pandemic, I've almost exclusively focused on indie films in the $1 to $5 million, sometimes much smaller range. And I'm an assistant there to help the filmmakers and do their craft and get day-to-day things done in terms of filmmaking and deal making.
Heck yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And I think what the filmmakers need to hear. And we wanted to make sure that we had, someone on that could speak to that. It's been a long time since we've had like legal on this podcast. And so I'm really glad you're here. Nick, welcome in as well.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Like that, I don't know if I can beat the intro from a one esteemed Joshua Lastine. What's really cool about these lawyers, man, is they get this little suffix on their name, this Esquire. And I'm like, oh.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
We got to dig into that a little bit, right?
I used to subscribe to Esquire magazine.
Exactly.
I have a sense it's not the same thing.
Right. No, it's not the same.
I was going to say, going back to ancient times, Esquire meant a knight. So really we are the modern day knights / Jedi Knights of the law / I like to think of myself as the Jedi Knight of filmmaking.
That's what's up. That's why he's got like a knight in the background. I swear that's a Jedi. There's a lightsaber back there.
What is that?
He's got Galactus, bro, from Silver Surfer. Galactus, is the one who, said, "You shall be my minion in order to save your world," and got Silver Surfer. Yo, speaking of Silver Surfer,
he's the only naked, he's the only nude superhero.
Hey, but listen,
he's the only one that's,
bro. Let's talk about Silver Surfer.
You seen the crotch on that guy?
But listen.
Impressive.
I'm telling you, this time around, Silver Surfer is going to be a woman.
That's right.
Let's talk about it, Joshua. How do you feel about it, man?
I no longer can say see the crotch on that guy.
Exactly what I was about to say. I was like, now you can't do that, bro. Again, so, Josh, what do you think, man? Like, are you down with the fact that they're going to switch it up and be like, this is Silver Surfer's, I can't remember his real name, but like his wife.
Norn Rad is the original Silver Surfer, right?
Go. Yeah.
Honestly, if I were Kevin Feige, big statement to say,
right.
I probably would have gone a different route, and I probably wouldn't have introduced Silver Surfer and Galactus right out of the starting gate for Fantastic Four. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. I actually have one of the first issues of Fantastic Four where they go back in time and fight King the Conqueror in Egypt as Pharaoh Ramatut. And there was probably a storyline in there that I would have adapted more so than Silver Surfer, and in particular this ideation of Silver Surfer, Julia Gardner. But she's a fantastic actress, and I'm excited to see what she can do with the role. Kevin Feige's vision has never let me down, so I'm excited to see what it becomes.
Okay. They're in a tough spot. I mean, I think the whole genre is in a tough spot, and they're in a desperate need of something that really, really works. Almost that works at the level not that just the first Iron Man worked at. Right? It doesn't have to be end game, but if it can just work on that level, I think they can get it back. But I think there's two things sort of happening all at once, which is that the universe is actually too big for most audiences to sort of follow. And sort of have all the connections all the way around, and then on top of that, the entire genre. You have to follow every story, whether it be Marvel or DC. and then the stories have been convoluted, and then have that little bit of thing, Nick, that you were alluding to, which is, okay, we're just going to change the character up on you. We're going to take the thing that you love from your childhood, and we're going to flip it on you.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is that for Josh, he would know probably that, and the folks who know the comics know that there was an actual comic iteration where it was Norrin Radd's wife was turned into Silver Surfer, and she took on that role. So this isn't like 100% net new, right? But it is such a singular element of that story that isn't really the narrative that most people have, that it seems out of left field, right? It just doesn't seem right. But again, like Josh said, I mean, this could be great. Like, they could do this well, just as long as you and I have talked about, Chris, just like make the story good. Right, we know that the actors and all that, like, that's going to be there. Yeah, stick the landing on the story, and then we won't have anything to say about whether this is, a female version, male version. We won't care. It's Silver Surfer.
True storytelling is something that you cannot cheat your way around. You cannot speed through. You cannot fast track to production. And Disney has really faltered as of late in honing their storytelling skills.
100%.
And I do think that is a function of the insanity that is our industry right now, coming out of these last 4 or 5 years, really, since the pandemic. It's been one thing after another for everyone in our industry. The actors, the writers, the producers, even down to the hair, makeup, costumers. My wife's hairdresser does a lot of hair for the stars, and they were unemployed for a long time when they weren't doing that. And those things do compound. And I've always said, Hollywood isn't a democracy. It's a benevolent dictatorship where there has to be someone at the head, but all rows have to be rowing in the same direction to have the best creative product, and everyone's got to be on the same page and on the same team. And it just feels like there's more disconnect than ever, and we need to find a way to come back to some sense of normalcy, which, knock on wood, hopefully we're starting to find as of, what is it, the last 2 weeks or so, maybe even just this week. IATSE kind of announced that they've reached some sort of tentative terms, right?
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yep. So you think that's what it is, though? Like, it's all about the strikes, and that's really, I mean, since the pandemic, it's just been strike after strike after strike. Or do you think there's something else that you're seeing that has really had this impact on the industry? Because, from my perspective, and I know from a lot of people, especially if we're talking about Disney, there's just seems to be a different agenda that they're pushing through the films, that because that agenda is forward, the story is behind it, right? And I think that's the challenge. Like, we as audience members, and even those who are sympathetic to any cause that Disney might have, we want the story forward, right? Just do that well. You can incorporate any theme, you can incorporate an agenda, you can do all that stuff you want, but just do well with the storytelling. And I don't know if that's a factor of the strikes and all that. I think it just compounds the situation that you're talking about.
Compounds it 100%. And I think, let's be honest, storytelling has always been political. Storytelling has always had a moral message or moral center to it. I teach, business ethics at entertainment at Los Angeles Film School, and I talk about, things like Little Red Riding Hood and the Faustian Bargain and The Devil and the Blacksmith as being some of our earliest stories, and those all have some sort of message to its core. So it's not even so much that they're trying to push an agenda, narrative, or message, but they're just doing it really bad, right?
Right, exactly.
Like, I would have loved the Marvels. Oh man, I was so excited for that movie. If they would have knocked that out of the park, like, I don't think you would have heard anyone complaining, but the story of that movie was kind of a mess.
Right.
And I don't think that had anything to do with the agenda that they were pushing, just as much as it just didn't seem it didn't seem unified in the story that they wanted to tell, and it didn't seem like everybody was on the same page, which is what I'm feeling is coming out of maybe this is a symptom of creative democracy running amok. Maybe we need to have that kind of it used to be great man theory, but great man or woman theory of the film, right? The director or whoever sets their tone or impression for the entirety of the project.
Nice.
Yeah, and we will, to the audience, I promise you, we will get to the legal stuff. We're
just a bunch of nerds nerding out now. Exactly. We started talking about film, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, for sure. Buddy. And I don't see. I will leave the genre, this particular genre, to you guys because you're clearly fans of it. I'm admittedly not deep in it. I don't want to opine and just be talking out of school because that would just be wrong. But I would just say in general, in the industry, I need to find out who wrote this piece. I need to look it up. But there was an incredible piece that was written, long form journalism piece about sort of the end of the movie industry. And I need to find who wrote this so I can give them some credit. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But they were really just talking about how much the industry had changed and what has sort of happened over the last 5 years, because you brought up 5 years, and how it is a snowballing of maybe the last 50, maybe like since the 70s. And what might be happening and what might be driving this is the fact that legacy movie people just don't own studios anymore. And studios are all, and this, his primary point, and I do need to find this attribution, but his primary point is that PE, like private equity, and VC, venture capital, now owns studios. They have BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own the majority shares of every studio in the world, or every major. So, or at least in this country. And so when it comes down to make these decisions on what gets made and how it gets made, the movie people, the story people, I mean, Josh, you talked about how you can't rush story. Well, story will be rushed because they say it will be rushed. This has happened in healthcare, by the way. Doctors used to run hospitals, and now PE and VC and hedge fund managers run hospitals. And they're about efficiency, so they can sell if they need to sell or whatever they're going to do. And when you approach entertainment that way, you get a ton of efficiencies and some really bad movies and some really bad understanding of what people really want. And I do think that has happened. I do think we see that. And I do think it drove the strikes as well.
And Chris, it's really interesting. He just said what they want, Josh. And I'm thinking it's not even what these people want. It's what we can get them to buy.
Yeah.
But go ahead, man. You're going to say something.
No, I was just going to say that article, whoever wrote it, couldn't be more right. The injection of tech financing, Silicon Valley, and with it venture capitalism in general, and the ultimate commercialization of our industry has really been kind of the main story of my whole entire entertainment career. I went to law school. I moved out here in 2010, just after the first writer's strike. And we kind of saw this semi-resurgence golden age of Hollywood. But then, quickly the streamers came out, and then all of a sudden budgets were going up exponentially. When I first started out in this industry, TV budgets were something that we watched very closely. When I worked at Lionsgate, the bottom line of the TV budget was always the number one consideration. And then I started doing shows for Amazon Studios, and those budgets went from, $10 million an entire season to $10 million an episode. Wow. And it went from 24 episodes per season to 12 to 8 to 6. And they started bringing movie stars over from television or from film to doing television for the first time. That was wildly taboo in 2015, 2016, 2017. TV stars became film stars, but film stars didn't do TV. If they did, it was just a one-off cameo. It was relatively unheard of. These things led to an exponential bubble of costs compounded by COVID, in that, we still wanted product, we still wanted things to get made, and they started to have to throw out even more money to get people back to work, to get the A-listers back to work during COVID. And it's just been something that is it's hyperinflated our industry. And it's you used to be able to be a writer, work 42 weeks of the year on one show for 24 episodes. Now you get 6 episodes and you're lucky to get 20 weeks guaranteed, and you spend the rest of the year looking for work. And that's the same for actors, and it's the same for line producers. It's the same for attorneys. It has a ripple effect across our industry when you start looking at filmmaking and art as a commodity that is to be consumed rather than art itself.
Dude. I think that's I think that really drove the strike, what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's a good segue into the legal part, because basically if you can take that writing job and make it 6 weeks and then make the writer's room smaller and smaller and smaller, I mean, that this is not something I think a legacy studio head would adopt, but because of sort of their recognition of what the writer is to the project. For example, I found the guy, by the way. His name is Daniel Besner. Shout out to Daniel Besner. It's in Harper's Magazine.
I think you can see it too in the way that we don't cultivate talent anymore. Like, we used to have a vested interest in trying to make new talent because it's an assembly, and it's really become apparent that it's the same people over and over and over again. When they're going to make room for more new people coming in of all diverse backgrounds and genders and whatnot, I don't know, because it really seems more of a older generation versus newer generation more than it is any particular gender, politics, sex, group identity.
Yeah.
Identity,
and Josh,
or
listen,
whatever.
I mentioned this on a previous episode about that talent thing. It's like Once Upon a Dream. Like when the three of us were watching television, you remember that thing called TV? We were watching TV and we would see these things called commercials. Y'all remember commercials? Right? And then we would see those actors as children in the commercials, right? And they would grow up through the process, and they would be on television as, in our favorite television show, or they'd be in the movies because they grew up through the process. We don't have TV. We don't have commercials. We're not grooming people through the process. The other side of the coin is content, right? You don't have to be on TV anymore to reach 10 million people. You just have to be on social, on YouTube, right?
The democratization of stardom is
there. You go.
It's an interesting topic.
Exactly. And that's a whole separate ball game when it comes to, like you're saying, how are we grooming this content?
It used to be if you were on TV, Nick, you were super talented.
You had to make it there. Like that's what it took.
People following you. They were following you for a real reason. But all you need to do is look at the conversation we're having. We're talking about Silver Surfer. We're talking about IP. and there's no reason. So in the mind of a financier that's not brought up, as you said, Nick, in the film industry and in storytelling and in the creative, why in the world would they ever make something that didn't already exist and wasn't proven? The reason that everything is IP is because it has inherently less risk when it's the correct IP. And I can't even say it's right or wrong. It's just that there was something magical about the idea that you could write an incredible spec script and then get it made. I mean, the reason why I joined the Blacklist was because, like, okay, I get to read the best scripts in the world, and these are all in spec, and maybe we can get them made. Well, not all of them. Some of them are IP, and wisely so, smartly so. The option price is low. So, I mean, all you need to see is what gets put out, and then you understand it. Even American fiction
I'll be
IP.
100% honest. You know, my clients come in, or writers come into me, and they're like, "Do you want to read my screenplay?" And I'm like, really, reading the screenplay has nothing to do with whether or not this film will get made.
Yep.
I want to know what the hook is. I want to know what the commercial vehicle of it is. I want to know the why of it. You can be the best writer in the world, but if you don't have those things, good luck.
Yeah,
Wow.
good luck
Yeah,
indeed.
it's true.
Okay, I'm going to shift it. I'm going to shift it, Josh. I want to start with something super basic, and it's going to seem ridiculous to ridiculously basic, perhaps. But for everyone in the audience across the globe, let's just start with what is an entertainment lawyer? Define entertainment law. How is it different than other law, and why does everybody need an entertainment lawyer if they're in the movie business?
Very, very good question, because it is something that is very confusing, because we all see attorneys on television and we see them, go in front of a judge and argue in front of a court of law, bang, bang, gavel, jury, whatever. That is not at all what I do. I don't wear a suit. I don't go in front of a judge or a courtroom. I don't try cases. All I do all day, every day is negotiate contract deals. I would say about half of my clients are production companies, studios, small businesses, startups who are in some facet creating content, whether that's long form independent films, whether that's studio films, whether that's short form content, animation, TikTok videos. I even represent a few people who are like news anchors, weather people, anyone who is financially paying their bills through the means of creating content. I am intricate in the process of setting up and negotiating those deals. I have a lot of friends that are studio executives who work internally with the studio systems. Yeah. I help them negotiate their deals against the studios. I represent producers against financiers, trying for producers to help them attach talent. We assist in all levels of production day to day, working ground level with the filmmakers, the boots in the ground, line producer, UPM, transportation department, locations department, visual effects, practical effects, props, costumes, wardrobes, all of the things that you see that go into the line item budget in some way, shape, or form needs a contract negotiated, needs a deal negotiated, and I can be involved in any part of that process.
Yeah, well, I got a question about that. So,
all right.
and I'm sure Chris might have had this in his back pocket, but I'm thinking about it, right? So we know that we've talked to like managers, we've talked to agents, right? And now we're talking to a lawyer. So it's like, well, where's the line between what a lawyer does versus what a manager does versus what an agent does? Because when we think about law, we think about what's legal and what's not, right? And you just said the word negotiate. That's different.
Yeah.
Negotiation means that you're potentially on the side of your client trying to get the best deal, right? For, whomever you're negotiating, which I think in some respects might be the job of a manager, right? The manager is supposed to get you the best deal, or an agent supposed to get you the best deal, right? And you're there just to make sure the legalese is covered. So can you just what's the line that you draw between your role and that of a manager or an agent?
It really takes the whole village to get the best possible deal. And if I can akin it to maybe, I'll give it a hunting analogy. The manager is there to prep you for the hunt, get you psyched for the hunt, sharpen your spear, get you ready and virile to go out and hunt. And the agent is the tip of that spear. So the agent is securing the deal, getting your foot in the door, getting you that job offer, bringing it in. My job as the attorney is then to take the animal, so to speak, make sure that it's not sick, dying, make sure that it's not going to poison you if you eat it, and cut it up and preserve it and save it for winter. Now, to use a more hands-on entertainment example, we could just use podcasting because that's what we're on, right?
Okay.
I represent a lot of podcast stars. Their agent or manager may broker the deal with iHeart or whomever the podcast production company may be. Mm-hmm. And they may say, you're getting a minimum upfront guarantee amount, a paid portion that's going to be applied against future revenue generated on the podcast. And that revenue portion may be a generous 50%. But my job is to examine, okay, so what is taken out of that 50%? Where does the cost come out? How is iHeart recouping their cost? What are the timing of those payments? How are they calculating those payments? What if you don't want to do the podcast anymore? If the podcast stays up forever, are you still going to get paid? What happens if there's an episode that looks bad in hindsight that you want to get pulled down? I help review and read the podcast episodes sometimes before they go up to check to make sure they're not saying anything that they shouldn't say. Legally defaming somebody or, offering medical advice or some sort of technical specialty financial advice. These are things that I would look at for one of my clients in reading their podcast deals. So in no way does an entertainment lawyer replace an agent or manager, but we enhance what they do by, I'm kind of making this up, but I'll just say when I'm negotiating against an agent or manager, usually they're getting like 65% of what's on the table. When they bring in a lawyer, they're getting 95% of what's on the table.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it.
Why is it so important for a creative to get a lawyer in advance of sort of finding these deals and finding partners to work with?
Yeah, I mean, because oftentimes the you know how it is in Hollywood, the hey, aren't we friends kind of relationship between the creative and the producer and the creatives in the company. They are a little, how do I say, encroaching or overtaking in terms of asking artists to do things for free, getting artists to do things, that may not be in their best financial interest, because as creatives, we're generously collaborative. As creatives, we want to create, right? And so I've gotten into a lot of situations where talent have brought me on thinking that I'm just the paper legal guy, so to speak, but they've already shot themselves in the foot by agreeing to things in an email that I never would have let them agree to begin with, or by not asking things up front that they should have asked for, they didn't think to ask for to begin with. So that's more for talent representation. On the producer side, on the writer side of things, as you're creating an entertainment property, you have what is known as the chain of title, right? Which is the rights ownership of the property from initial ideation to production / distribution, final credit roll. And that has to be extremely clean in terms of the contracts that go into that chain of title, how the property passes ownership from one entity to another. Otherwise, financiers, investors, distributors, purchasers, they won't want to touch your product.
How do you layer in when you're representing a WGA or union writer? Because the union's going to negotiate and they have minimums, on behalf of those creatives. Give me a scenario where you come in and sort of amend to that negotiation and contract coverage.
Yeah, well, for starters, the WGA basic minimums are just basic minimums, right? So that's just a starting point for negotiations if you're a WGA writer. Everything from there is an improvement from, if you're going to be your level of transportation if you're brought on set. There used to be, on television side of things, we had to do what we used to call protection against work expansion, meaning like they would pay people out on an episodic basis pay you 10 episodes, but they would work you for 4 to 6 weeks on an episode where it would normally only take a writer 2.5 weeks. We protect against things like baby writers rooms or junior writer rooms or startup writer rooms that, you know, we're now fighting against the WGA. Making sure that they're, you know, if it's on a feature film, they're getting back end, and what does that look like in terms of net revenue? What does the net revenue definition look like? Is there sales bonus? Are they being rewarded in any upside in the upfront financing? Are they getting a development fee to take them through, you know, to green light if they're working on producing services? Any of those things, the WGA is just a starting point. You know, I think the basic minimum for theatrical high budget is like somewhere around $175K. Well, you know, John Watts isn't taking $175K or, you know, M. Night Shyamalan, I don't know, someone big, I guess. but that's just the starting point for those writers on their career. And even for non-WGA writers, you really should be looking at the standard schedule of minimums as being like, okay, I'm not a WGA writer yet, but this is what they would value me as if I were. Use that as a benchmark for your own services.
Yeah, well, I got something on that one, Chris. I'm like, okay,
please.
All of this sounds wonderful, Chris. Like you and I are over here like, yeah, this is awesome. Like what Josh does, everybody should have. So let me go ahead and he's
a true knight.
Wait. He's a true
esquire.
Let me, you see, I'm going to put my independent filmmaker hat on real quick. And I'm going to be like, what are you talking about? Having a lawyer, that's a rich person's game. You know, how am I supposed to afford a lawyer? Right. So how do you respond to that? Because I think that's it. That could potentially be the myth. Right. So dispel that myth.
First and foremost, it doesn't cost you anything to build relationships. And if you're in entertainment, if you're in filmmaking, and if you're in Hollywood, you should just be naturally building relationships all the time and meeting managers, agents, and lawyers to the extent you can to help line up specific projects, because there are a lot of different types of entertainment lawyers. One thing that I forgot to specify earlier, you know, I'm very much in development and production and talent representation, but there are lawyers for going to court and litigating IP issues. There are lawyers who specialize in divorce for high net worth individuals. There are lawyers who do a distribution solely or even, you know, exhibition deals. So meeting a wide variety of people in Hollywood is never going to do you a disservice. Okay. If it's something that you truly care about, this is your baby, and you get like Eminem, this is your one shot, do not miss your chance to go.
That's right.
Like, you don't want to risk it on not doing things properly. You know, I'm in a situation now with 2 different clients. One of them is finalizing a film in post-production, and she's ready to head to distribution, but she signed a really, really bad director deal because they were friends. And that director deal gave the director a lot of autonomy and authority over the final cuts and the edits and the post-production, as well as lining up distribution. And we're in a big fight with the director now over the creative tone of the film and how that's going to land and where we're going to try to set that up for film festivals and how we're going to get the film finished. So, you know, that was just one example. Another example, I have
adjudicate a matter of taste has got to be pretty difficult.
Sorry?
I said trying to adjudicate a matter of taste has to be very difficult.
It is, but the way you avoid that is you avoid it altogether by making sure that in the contract it's crystal clear. The producer is running the show. Director, you are hired to creatively oversee certain aspects, but the final say at the end of the day goes to the creative head, goes to the studio or EP or head producer or whatever.
The point you made about friends, I think, is an important thing to earmark as well.
Yeah.
I see that quite a bit where there's an assumption. Well, I assume that this. We're friends. I assume this is not related to film, but had a lunch recently where a founder that is going to sell, protein bars and protein drinks and things like that, but protein bars and food, was like, we're ready to go. He's gonna let me use the recipes. So this is a guy who was working with a guy who had a recipe. So when the investors went to ask, hey, do you own this stuff? He goes, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, I own it. He's going to give it to me so we can make this money. And when he went to the guy who invented the recipe, that guy was like, no, I'm not going to give it to you. And the whole thing fell apart. Multi-million-dollar raise just down the drain, because the guy just assumed, hey, you're already making this for me. You're already helping me package it. You're white labeling this for me. Like, of course you're going to like let me have it so I can get the deal done. No, he said no. And that's it.
Yeah.
All over.
And I think that this is a trap that young creatives get into early on in their career, because they want to be, how do I say, overly accommodating. Again, we are all creatives. We're all very collaborative in nature. We want to exercise our creative muscles, but people can certainly take advantage of that. And if you're naive and just kind of assume that you're along for the ride, that's where idea theft can occur. That's where, people spawn new projects and leave people unattached. So never assume anything. Always get everything in writing, email writing, text message writing if you can. But, I encourage all my clients to make sure that they get all of their deal making done in writing ahead of time, so there's no ambiguity after the fact, and there's no one strong arming them later on because they have a little bit more leverage because they don't have a signed deal.
It's a great point, because when the project is nothing, then there's nothing to fight about. But when the project becomes something, then all of a sudden people change.
Yeah, the teeth come out when John Wick starts to make boolah bucks.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I think all of those angles about, what people should do. Again, we agree with all of it. Right. And I think that for our audience, the challenge is always, can they afford it? And I think the point that you're making is that you need to. Right, like you need to consider this.
You need to afford it, but at the very least, you need to have a contact. You know what I mean?
But exactly, and that's the first part, is like just getting those connections. But I think that's it. It's like you need to think about that as a prerequisite or as a standard. And I think that's what we want to use our platform to help people understand, is that it has to be done if you want to protect yourself. It has to be done if you want to actually find success without someone taking that away from you. You can be creative without it. Like 100%. Like that's not you don't need a lawyer to be creative. You need a lawyer to be successful in the business of this industry. And I think that's the part that people aren't really locked into. And to my point earlier, I think they think they can't afford it. It's just not in their budget.
To be commercially successful, because again, if you want that project to be bought and distributed by Lionsgate or Gravitas or Vertical or whatever, there's so much that goes into making a film that you have to get right, and it's such a difficult, challenging process already in making a film. It's a miracle that any film gets made, really. That why fight the current and cheap out? If you can raise $1 million for a film budget, you can raise an additional 10,000 for production legal.
Yeah, there's this sense of being penny wise and pound foolish. We talked about this a few weeks ago, Nick, where it's like people will, independent filmmakers especially, and we've been there, love independent film, by the way. It's like, that's our jam. And that's why we talk about it so much. But one of the things is like, hey, I told my family, I told this cast, I told this crew, we're shooting on this date. And then one of your cast, the cast member that is selling the whole movie, that gives you that hook you talked about, Josh, earlier, they're suddenly decommit because some bigger opportunity came along and you're an independent film. And you're still going to shoot it. You're just going to replace them and shoot it. It's like, no, that was it. Like you have to go back and like no one, all the people that you think are paying attention to you or are going to, talk shit about you or make you feel bad or make you belittle you or whatever because you didn't really shoot on the date you said you're going to shoot and move forward. Forget those people. Get your movie right. It's too important to not get the movie. You have to get the cast right so that you can pre-sell the movie, so that you can be in the black before principal photography. And if you're not there, then like everyone that I know that's been successful financially in movies never shoots before they know like how the business is going to turn out. Like everybody breaks even that's in that investor pool first before you even shoot. Then everything else is externality after that and waterfall. And it's not that it's going to be like a unicorn and make $1 billion. It's just that you can have a life, especially sort of as a director or producer, if you can just continue to hit doubles, hit triples with your movies, like, and keep going. $2 million spend, $3 million sold. Let's rinse and repeat and do it again with stories that you care about. I think the other thing too, by the way, is believe your lawyer. So I actually don't think we've even ever talked about this, Nick, but it's a little personal for me and you. Like when your lawyer says, I would look at this, or I don't know if this is a great deal, and you move forward anyway, because the dollars look too attractive, or whatever's on paper, whatever they're offering you looks too attractive. That's a red flag. Like listen to your lawyer.
And if anyone tells you not to get a lawyer, that you don't need a lawyer, that's like the ultimate red flag.
Yep.
If anyone tells you don't need a lawyer, run for the hills and get a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm guilty of some version of that. I think sometimes I'll get on a call and I'll say, hey, this is a bench. This is boilerplate. I mean, this is boilerplate agreement. It's, you could review it yourself. I'm not saying not to get a lawyer to them, and I wouldn't ever say that to anybody. But I will be transparent enough to say I do want them to feel at ease that I'm not putting incredibly complex things in a contract that you really have to be super concerned about because I'm out to screw you, right? Like sometimes I will use that boilerplate language.
I'll give you that, but even something as innocent as that, the legal ease is very complicated, and sometimes there's slight typos that can completely change how a term is read or interpreted, how a provision is going to apply in real life. And it may, I see this quite often where producers try to fit a round peg in a square hole by using the same form over and over again. That just doesn't quite
guilty.
fit.
We do that all the time.
Yeah. That's why I pride myself in being able to quickly draft bespoke agreements that actually go to the nature of what it is that you have to get done, because it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Was there an initial opportunity for filmmakers to get consultation from a lawyer for, you should say, a minimal fee, something that is attractive to the filmmaker to say, hey, I can at least have the conversation to understand what it is. Maybe they don't know, right? That's the big issue, is that the filmmakers don't know what they don't know, but they do have this perception that a lawyer is expensive. So is there this entry way into having a conversation with a lawyer, even outside of a personal relationship? Like you said, personal relationships are the best. You do that, you can have a personal conversation with someone who cares about you, who will help you and say, hey, these are the things you need to be looking at. I can represent you if you want, right? But here's some things to look at. If you don't have those relationships, how does an independent filmmaker approach a lawyer just to understand what they need to be looking at with respect to whatever the situation they're in?
Yeah, so I can't speak for all of my colleagues, but I at least offer an initial 15-minute free consultation for potential new clients. Do I have consultations with everybody? 99%, but like there are obviously sometimes where it's like, I'm the son of the Duke of Yorn and I want to purchase Avatar or something like that. So like,
right.
you got to weed out the crazies to some degree. But generally speaking, I take a 10, 15-minute consultation for free with anybody. I would say probably if you're able to find an entertainment lawyer online, if they're advertising themselves and their services, they're probably willing to do an initial consultation for free. You know, like I have a lot of mentors. I stand on the shoulders of giants. Like one of my mentors is Margot Robbie attorney. You can't find him anywhere.
Right.
Ben Stiller's attorney, Simon Pegg's attorney, Ali Wong's attorney. Like I know all these people personally, but you're not going to be able to call these people up and schedule a consultation.
Gotcha.
Right. Because I do think there's a thing too that this happens to independent distributors as well, where they're managing more movies than they could possibly hope to ever manage. And therefore they basically are they basically void out their promises on their marketing, because there's no way they can accomplish it for this many films, right? Like that they're trying to all manage. And their business model is different than yours as a filmmaker. I would say red flag would be a lawyer that is taking on 10, 15, 20 working clients. I guess too many. Like, how could you possibly do that? And I've seen situations where filmmakers have done the right thing, gotten the lawyer up front, and the lawyer signs off on contracts they didn't really read. You didn't help the client out at all. Like, and then they find out later, oh, I'm in a one-sided agreement, or this is a predatory company or distributor. And I just want to be clear for the audience. A couple of comments ago, we don't use producers. We're not using the same documents and language over and over and over because we're being malicious. It's because the job is hurting cats.
Practical.
It's practical. Yeah. There's too much to manage. There's an enormous spreadsheet, Google Doc that we maintain that has there's so many things you have to get right and do. You have to start somewhere. And it's good to sort of have the blueprint of what that thing is going to be handy versus having to rebuild or redraw that blueprint every single time. So it's not predatory. It's not like malicious. It's just like comes with the territory. And this is why producers are right now banding together for higher fees up front to do development. They still pay us what we got paid in 1971. We're getting 12.5. So we're getting 25,000. You get the half. So you get 12.5. Yep. Well, 12.5, $25,000 in 1971 would buy you a ranch style home where I live in Nashville. It would. I know that because one of my best friends, I saw the deed to his dad's house. He bought it in 1976 or something like that, or 72 for $27,000. A whole ass home. Right, with a driveway and a giant front yard and backyard. So yeah, back then, 25,000, that's a good little piece of change. Writers back in the day would get deals early on, 14 grand. That's you know what that is in today's money, Josh? $273,000. It's the equivalent of $273,000 today. And so this is kind of what happens. The money inflates. It becomes worth less, but the wages don't follow. And so right now we got to herd cats. We're going to get this 12.5 and try to survive through development for a year or two, maybe even having to work odd jobs. Some of these guys are trust fund people, so they don't have to worry about it. But in general, it's not sustainable. And you have to have that general contractor person that can be a liaison between the creative, the crew, and the studio or the financier, however you're structured, and we just have to get treated better. But anyway, we don't get paid enough essentially to develop it, and we got to take some shortcuts and make life simple. That's the point.
Man. There's no money in development. I have a lot of clients that are in development hell right now and just waiting for that green light so they can get their first check. And I have to joke because you were talking about the spreadsheet and all the projects. You know, my producers will call me and say the same thing, and they're like, I'm working on 30 projects, and I'll be like, of course I know you're working on 30 projecs. I'm working on all 30 of them with you.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy what you have to do. And like, cause some of them you've developed for a long time and they never happen. Right. And they're not going to happen. And then others you do, and you get the green light, and then you get paid, but your fee, just to be clear with the audience. But anyway, Just wanted to say that. And now it is a good time. It is a perfect time to bring in producer Papa Bear with another things we should know. Welcome, Papa Bear. Welcome.
Hey, wait. Before he says anything, I just thought about something. You know, I call him PB, and we got Joshua here. What do we got, bro? We got PB and J. Let's go. Let's go.
Nick, you never cease to amaze with your dad jokes. Your dad jokes,
dude, I stay
they don't
100.
floor me, but they floor somebody.
That's right. I stay 100.
You know, it made me think the other day. I asked, we have all these dad jokes, but
we do.
How come there are no mom jokes?
Because they're not as funny as we are, bro. They gotta keep, you know what I'm saying? His
like email is nick@bonsai.film.
That's right. Hey, listen. They're the glue, bro. They're the glue that keeps everything together. Exactly.
In
See, Josh knows.
My house, daddy's fun, mom runs the ship.
That's right. Exactly. That's it. That's why, bro.
Daddy's just
she don't got time to joke.
That's right.
Yeah. I think there ain't time for these jokes, PB.
That's right. You ain't got time for that. All right, PB, what you got for us, man? We're
I think
ready.
we can have fun with this one. You know, I think there's a narrow area of entertainment law where a lawyer representing an actor may have to negotiate an insurance policy on that actor's body part.
Okay. Oh, here we go. It's already getting interesting.
Let's go.
So
I'm thinking legs, bro. I'm thinking legs.
You're thinking cock.
There are those ones that we all know about. Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
She has her buttocks.
Yeah.
Insured.
Tina Turner had her legs.
Exactly. There you go.
Julia Roberts. She has her smile.
Her smile. Yep.
Insured for $30 million.
Julia Roberts has her smile insured, or does she have her lips and teeth insured? What does it mean to insure a smile?
That's it. Lips, teeth.
But what does that mean? What are you insuring?
Jawline.
That she can have the muscle, the muscles it takes to.
Let's ask him.
Right.
It would essentially be. I mean, so Papa Bear, I haven't done that specifically, but I do a lot of things like that when I'm negotiating sex and nudity writers, and we have to get very specific on the particulars of the body parts and what's touching and what's not touching. And we oftentimes have to secure insurance for actors when they're doing things like getting on an airplane for a scene or jumping out of on a cliff for a scene. The idea is that if that particular asset is no longer able to be a money generator, like any other thing, Julia Roberts' smile brings in a cool $20 million a year or whatever it is, and it's valued at that. And so if for whatever reason she got into a car accident and it messed up her jawline, she would get a payout.
Yeah.
That's right. Yo, y'all see, wait. Y'all see how he did that, bro?
So it's exactly what I said.
Wait, did you see how we did that, though? We were talking about Jennifer Lopez's buttocks, because that's how Papa Bear said it. That's how Papa Bear said it. And then Josh was like, hey, we got to make sure we secure those assets.
Those assets. You know? Gotta secure them. Badoosh again. Where's the damn drum roll when we need it?
I know, but no, you need the bump, but don't bump. Exactly.
So I'll do you one better in entertainment.
I need. Yeah, that one.
I'll do you one better. One of the first nude scenes I ever had to do was for Kevin Bacon, and I had to do his butt for the Amazon series I Love Dick. And I remember we have to negotiate.
You did his butt?
I did his butt.
For I Love Dick.
I did the deal for Kevin Bacon's butt. And I remember we had to negotiate how much butt he had to show. And in describing it, what was it? The butt crack itself is described as the intergluteal cleft.
I love it. I can write that down.
Rear nudity, top portion, intergluteal cleft.
I can't wait to talk to my trainer, man. I'm like, man, I need to get my intergluteal cleft strong.
Cleft right, exactly. And listen, that's a thing we should know. Just see,
right there.
That's a thing we should know.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man.
Now we've learned. We're going to learn two things minimum.
Exactly.
Today. We learned about the intergluteal cleft, and we learned Kevin Bacon was negotiated for I Love Dick. By the way, shout
Right.
out to I Love Dick. Great show on Amazon Prime, I think.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
First
check it
Very
out.
good.
all-female
You
writers room in streaming, I believe.
you
Oh,
will
nice.
yeah. So
That's another one?
You will
Is
love
that
that.
another things we should know? First, all females writer room
Mhm.
was for a show called I Love Dick. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
What was
You can't write this.
What was the first interracial kiss on television? We'll do. Now I'm giving out trivia.
It was on the Jeffersons.
It was on the Was it on the
It was on the Jeffersons.
Janet Jackson when she was on Good Times.
I think it was Captain Kirk and wasn't it
Captain
Captain
Kirk.
Kirk?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're
that is
right.
true.
Yes.
You're right.
William
Yeah.
Shatner.
William Shatner.
William
He was
Shatner.
kissing everything. So wait a second. When you said interracial, is that, don't you mean interspecies? Because you know the boy.
Interspecies.
You know,
And
he was
I
an
didn't know
intergalactic
this
lover.
This one crossed my trivia radar the other day. Do you know who the first gay female kiss on TV was? You can probably guess one of them, but the second one was surprised me.
Oh, first gay female kiss, dude. He's flipping
In prime time.
the things we should
Flipping
know.
the script on PB right now.
Well, it's Ellen
killing
DeGeneres.
PB.
It's Ellen DeGeneres, but who did she kiss? That was who I thought was super interesting.
Wait, is the person that she kissed gay? I don't think she is.
I don't think she is. No,
Right. Oh, see,
it was.
She
It was.
kissed-
You'll never guess, but it was Laura Dern of all people.
Laura
okay.
Dern.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah.
Incredible
That makes sense.
actress.
Yeah, exactly. Because Laura
Laura
Dern.
Dern.
She's in literally everything, so I guess
Yep.
sure. But
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. I was
Shout
like, I
out
knew.
to,
I was like, yeah, she's.
Shout out to
phenomenal.
William Shatner, by the way. I think the story about that goes is that the studio did not want the kiss to happen, and he said, I think he was going to walk. He's like, either do the kiss or I'm
right on.
and they did the kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
shout
because
out
he's
to-
like, look, you let me kiss these purple women, you better let me kiss a black woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, come on, you can't
shout out
discriminate.
shout out God
What was
gave
the
him an
actress's
extra 10 years on the
name?
planet for that.
PB Nina something. I forget now. She was
Yeah,
on
I'll have to look
Heroes
up.
for a brief period of time.
Mm.
I love TV history, and I think it's something that's kind of gotten lost in the advent of streaming, because it's like, how do we keep track of things now that they come out on a conveyor belt over and over and over again, and they're forgotten about just as soon as they come out? So
Yeah,
TV
it's-
history
that's
for me
awful.
That's a really
Yeah.
that makes me sad, but it's a great point. And shout out to Jackie Phillips, whose birthday was yesterday. We're recording this on May the 1st. But shout out to Jackie Phillips and Stephanie Black, who directed our comedy, Adult Interference, raunchy comedy, 90s comedy. Everybody always is shocked when they find out it's an all-female thing. Yeah, female produced, female, except for us. I mean, outside of this, like female produced, female directed, 100%, female, mostly female wrote, female co-wrote. Shout out to Ted Welch. So they just can't believe women made this movie because
Wrote a buddy comedy. All right,
well,
let's pitch it back.
it's
Let's pitch
also
it.
kind of raunchy too. So
It
it's
is.
full of they want to shit on us for certain jokes, and then it's like, oh no, women did that. So
Exactly.
not
Don't play. Don't
there
play.
it is. All right, PB.
All right, pitch it.
Hit us with the
PB.
thing, you know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Hit us with your
All
best
right.
shot.
So, in that vein,
Mhm.
we want to know who was the first actor to insure a body part, which body part was it, and how much was the body part insured for?
So a 3-parter. PB coming hard.
Yeah.
Well, it
well,
gives you 3 chances to get part of it
I'm going
right.
to take a complete stab here, and this might be completely wild left field, but I'm going to say Marlon Brando.
I'm going to write this
Okay.
down. Josh
What
is
body
not
part
Marlon
would
Brando.
he insure? His brain?
His head, his hair, his face. I feel like it's got to be more specific than that, but
His likeness? Okay.
his likeness.
mm,
Is that what
I
you're
don't
saying?
know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to write down likeness as guess number 1, but feel free to guess again after Nick guesses. Nick, you got anything?
you know, I don't have the details of the industry of which I speak. I am not a purveyor of the content as some might be, but PB perked up when Joshua was talking about sex scenes. So I'm thinking, somebody might have insured their Pen 15, and maybe for like back in the day,
Like that Cody.
a little porn star action going for like 3 million, right? Like, cause let's say it's in the 70s, 3 million's a grip, right? Like that's a lot of money. They're
Sure
like,
is.
yeah, I got to get that Pen 15 done because it breaks off in this scene. You know what I'm saying? And there might be some issues.
Then it's over.
Then it's over, right? And I need to
Shout
make
out
sure
to,
that
shout out to
I
Emilio
protect myself.
Eduardo, who started in the film business last
There
year.
you go. So I'm thinking, I can't remember dude's name. You guys might
With the
remember
wildest stories ever.
remember the short guy with the long hair. He had like long black hair.
Ron
He
Jeremy.
was not
Jeremy?
an attractive. See, Ron Jeremy. I'm giving it to. See, y'all know. I don't.
Ugly
I'm
and
sorry.
getting
I'm not up on
hollers
my
like
game.
Ron
like y'all are.
Jeremy.
I like where you're going with sex though, because the next thing that popped in my head was maybe Marilyn Monroe and
That was my
Sure.
guess. You just took my guess.
breasts.
Breasts. Yep. My guess was Marilyn Monroe breasts for $5 million.
Okay.
And I guess that's Josh's guess as well. But he didn't give a price. What's your price, Josh?
I don't even want to venture a guess.
Right. He's like, I'm not going.
Curious.
What did she insure him for?
Yeah.
Well,
All right, PB, what you got?
You know how these things go. It's always way before we.
Yeah. So
Realize.
esoteric as well.
Wait, Chris and Josh. But PB, before you do that, I just want to ask the question, and I might be confused. But wasn't the question about a guy who insured a body part?
No,
Oh,
Oh,
it was who was the first actor. as you
see,
might
that's what I
imply,
took actor
imply.
as a guy. I was
Sexist-
because
Insure a body
sexist
part.
bastard.
Which body part was it,
Mhm.
and how much
said-
was it insured for?
He said actor, so I took that as a male.
You did.
Where in today's parlance, one could say that is male or female, but
That's
Is-
correct.
yeah.
wait a minute. What is the preferred? I always get that wrong, and I feel like as an entertainment lawyer, I should know, but I don't know what is the preferred.
It's
I
not
think
preferred.
you can't go wrong. I think you can't go wrong.
If you
Yeah,
go
Say
actor,
actress to a woman,
is-
she's fine. Say
Yeah,
actor,
exactly.
you can't go wrong.
Actor
either.
is generic.
Okay.
exactly.
generic.
But I think here's the thing. So just so you let you guys
I'll let
know
them.
what I've
I'll
been
let them say the
using.
title first.
I know, but
So,
no. But if
yeah.
you get to have that conversation, but
Right.
what I've been doing is I've been going, okay, well, what is the Internet Movie Database? What does it say? You know what I'm saying? So I go with that. If it says actress, I'm using actress.
You got to bail out
There you go.
too. You
I-
got
that
all
is
that
that is
liability.
an
I read your IMDb
impartial
Pro.
way of deciding.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
You
if
are
they
a
say
gentleman
anything,
and a
Josh,
scholar.
it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I looked at your IMDb. It said actress.
That's right.
Sorry.
You know,
Is it?
that's another interesting tangent. You know, we have the NBA and the WNBA, but what do the Oscars do? They separate the genders in their awards,
They do.
in their major
But
awards.
not for directing,
Not for
which
directing,
I think is a huge misstep.
but for acting, which
Well,
was what you were
Yep.
asking about. Yeah.
But let's talk about that real quick before we get that answer. Why do you
Okay.
think it's a huge misstep? And I probably agree with you, but let's get your perspective. Why is it a huge misstep for the Oscars not to give a male and female award for Best Director?
To put more spotlight on phenomenal talent this year in particular, the directors pool for Best Director was so stacked, male and female, that like it was so hard to choose to go up there and to put it into we have to have so many of this or we have to have so many of that, or like, you know, to turn it into that level of politics of like, okay, you got 5 spots, you better pick wisely. To me, it just makes more sense to elevate the trade to say these are the best male directors and these are the best female directors.
Okay, let me jump in on that real quick and let's talk about where we are in the current zeitgeist, because we've been talking about that, right? So
I'm sure it's
we're gonna have
unpopular.
some. Well, no, we're gonna have some folks on, on the podcast soon that we've had on before that have, that are representatives of the LGBTQIA plus community, and I'm curious if we went that route and had a male director and female director, would that community then be up in arms regarding who is now left out because you made that distinction? And I think that
Sure.
might be something that precludes that distinction from being made, because now you might now have to make all these other gender specific distinctions that would then do the opposite of what you just said. It's going to dilute it. Right now, you won't have the best of the best. You'll have the best in 7 different categories because now you have to make sure that there's a category for everybody. So I hear you. If the zeitgeist wasn't what it is now, maybe that makes a ton of sense. But in the current zeitgeist, I just don't know if it works.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's an unpopular probably opinion or whatever you want to call it. It's a true Euthyphro moral dilemma. I mean, someone is always going to feel excluded, but if we're trying to make progress in some areas, this year just showed it to me so poignantly how many good directors there are, that
Yep.
5 is not enough or whatever it is. It's 5, right? Because like it was a great.
Yep.
It's tough because like your point comes from a really good place. It comes from a place of
Exactly.
of wanting to see talent be rewarded and included, but it has these externalities tied to it because of the culture now. By the way, shout out to Poor Things and Yorgos Lanthimos, who I think won this last year for Best Director.
But it could have easily gone to so many many
others. Yeah.
Poor Things was the best movie of last year. All of those movies were freaking great. They were.
Yeah.
There was not a true. Yeah.
And I've always said Poor Things isn't for everybody. That's a movie that's not for everybody.
Just like Everything Everywhere All at Once.
It takes 10 minutes. It takes 10 minutes for you to understand what world you're in Poor Things. And then once you're in that world, and Mark Ruffalo was unbelievable in that as well. Shout out to Mark Ruffalo. But yeah, it was so like Anatomy of a Fall could have won to me.
Great movie.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean,
all I gotta say is the dog should have won something. You gotta give that dog an award, bro. Like, come on, how'd they do that, Josh? Seriously, how did they do that?
You know what? No, Yorgos didn't win. Chris Nolan won for Oppenheimer.
Chris Nolan won for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppenheimer was incredible. He deserved that. I mean, that was a very, very big
Martin Scorsese, Chris Nolan, Yorgo, Greta Gerwig got left out of the conversation because you know what I mean. Like I think that's kind of where I got the initial idea, because it's like, again, who are you going to take out, Scorsese or Nolan?
Yeah.
Well, I got thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said Greta Gerwig. I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, let's pitch it back, because we keep taking away from him and then pitching it back. Let's pitch it back to PB. I want to know the answer. Who's the actor?
You're telling us this happened way before. This is like this is
happened.
Like Julius Caesar or Shakespeare had insurance.
Oh no, not that
on his pinky toe, on his pinky ring. All right, what you got, man? What
in the 1920s. And Nick, you're right. It is a male.
Yep.
Bernard Turpin.
Okay.
He was a silent film actor in the 1920s. He was the first to insure his body parts. He insured his eyes for $25,000. Why? He famously bought a $25,000 insurance policy with Lloyd's of London, payable if his eyes ever uncrossed.
Yo.
He was a burlesque actor.
Wow.
And his eyes were such a part of his act, his crossed eyes, that it happened to him because he once fell and hit his head, and his eyes remained crossed ever since. And he was afraid he might bump his head, and they would uncross, and he would lose his popularity as an actor.
That's amazing.
I love it. And what's his name again?
Ben, Ben Turpin, Turpin. Turpin.
Ben Turpin got an insurance policy with Lloyd's of London for his eyes to make sure that if they were to uncross, not cross, my people, if they were to uncross, he was concerned about losing his career and got a $25,000 insurance policy on those joints.
I'll be honest, I've been thinking about getting these bad boys insured.
Because they're pretty, bro.
All I do
Look at
is
You're right.
So $25,000 in 1920 would be like insuring them for, if this calculation is correct, $405,000
today.
Seems low.
Hey, but I'm saying like, well, no, I mean he just wanted to make sure that he could
Your
pay his
eyes on
bills.
cross?
He's just paying his bills, bro. Like he's just covering expenses,
on
making
now.
sure that he
Well,
can live right. Like that makes
$400,000
sense.
is not going to pay your bills for very long. Not in 2024.
Well, in
hey,
1920, it might.
exactly. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like in 1920, he's eating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He ain't living lavish, but he's eating. So that's awesome.
He had
I love that.
25,000 in 1920.
Well, now listen, guys.
Just under
Now
half a
I'm
million
interested. So here's a great thing about when PB drops this knowledge on us, right?
Mhm.
So
Thank
it's really
you. Thank
cool
you,
that we
PB.
learned about this one about Ben Turpin.
Yeah.
But now I'm interested in all the other things. I am
Who's Ben
actually
Turpin?
interested if Ben Turpin. And I'm really interested in the whole Ron Jeremy thing. Like, did he ever do it? Like, you just talked about, Marilyn Monroe. Did she insure? And how much? Like, I'm interested.
Let's look that up
Ron
and
Jeremy
then throw that in the
probably
chat.
insured his mustache.
There you go. Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Is that a SNL joke? Mustache rods, $5?
Right. But look, somebody took it off. You never know. It's not Ron Jeremy. So I'm just saying, I think it's really interesting. And I might be, Josh, I might be interested. I know you're going to do your hands. I might handle up on my intergluteal cleft, right?
Yeah, you might insure your
intergluteal cleft.
Make
you know,
sure,
I mean, I just,
If you're
gotta
making
make sure
6
that nothing
figures
happens.
off your cleft, then I would say go for it.
Exactly.
There you go. That being said, everybody should have some type of life insurance. Just shout out to wealth building, because if you don't have
Right.
life insurance, let's say, like, honestly, people are going to have it if they can afford it. But even if if you can't really afford it and it stretches you, pick life insurance over something else, because it'll change your whole family's dynamic if the amount is correct, right? So you're struggling, maybe you're lower class, economically speaking only, and you pass away and your payout is millions and millions of dollars. Well, guess what? You just flip the script on your whole family and everybody that comes after you forever. So it's just it's a small thing that I think people say, well, I can't afford that. I won't get that. I'll get this instead. It's actually like critical to the future of your offspring. And
Yeah, Chris just said, hey, look, get that life insurance, not that Gucci bag.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, get the life insurance.
The lawyer says this is not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. These are merely just
thoughts.
That's right. The industry observations, things. Hey, look, Chris wasn't telling the audience that, he was telling me. So I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you very much.
Gotta
well
get it,
done.
man.
I appreciate. Thank you.
Gotta get it. But look, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on the internet. We brought Josh on because we're not lawyers.
That's right.
I'm just saying, sort of out loud, I've seen this play out for people, and it's been a life-changing thing.
You're speaking about your personal experience and how that has benefited you. I got you. Thank you for that. Thank you for not providing that financial advice to our audience, because we don't do that here on the Make It podcast.
Why would I opine about that?
Exactly. We don't do such things. Come on now. Thank you, Josh.
And thank you, producer Papa Bear, for another
That's right.
amazing and enthralling things we should know.
Enthralling. I like it. Well played.
Yeah,
well played.
Yeah.
And what does that say on the shirt? I got to get that real quick. What's going on?
So that's Beer Lao,
explain
Lao. This shirt was a gift from my son-in-law, who is Laotian. He just got back from Laos a couple of months ago, and they brought this shirt.
They need designers in Laos.
Did he bring you any beer?
You're looking for a job. They need
exactly. Did he bring you a beer?
He drank the beer.
And he brought you the
brought
shirt.
me the shirt.
That's
for those listening. This shirt is green. It has yellow wrapped around it. It's got sort of script lettering that's green and white over an orange background. For my son-in-law, I
disown him. I want the beer.
Yeah, get the beer instead of the t-shirt.
He's like,
it's nice. But yeah, Papa Bear, I'm surprised you didn't just get the t-shirt from your own travels. You're peripatetic now. You're like you're everywhere. You've been to the DR. You've been sort of globe hopping lately.
Croatia.
Yeah. You've been everywhere.
Wait. Let me go back.
Papa Bear.
Let me go back to the shirt real quick. So I want to talk about the shirt.
Okay, but
PB,
talk about
because
it. Make sure there's people listening. You got to describe it for the people listening.
Man, you just described it. I appreciate you for that.
Yep,
but
yeah.
listen. What I'm saying, I want to talk about the shirt because I want to talk about my hat. So the people who are listening don't know that I'm wearing a hat, and my hat says Aloha.
Mm-hmm.
And my man PB's got a beer Lao. Well, why is that pertinent to today? Right. Well, today, as Chris mentioned, just happens to be May 1st.
Yes,
that's right.
already May.
Okay. Tell them, PB, what's so significant about my hat and your shirt on May 1st?
Yeah, I don't know the exact title of it, but it's kind of like Asian Culture Recognition Day.
There you go. It is
Like
Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Okay. So this is the first day.
Got the whole month. Okay.
The whole month. This is the first day of the whole month.
See how they do as black people? They got the month of May.
Hey,
we got February. All right, sorry, go ahead.
28 days, bro. I know you're talking about. I know you're on the soapbox. 28 days. So, but here's the thing. So I want to give, represent with the beer loud, represent the Aloha. And you can't see it. There's a little hole in the back of my wall there because I pulled this one off here. This right here. You gotta see that.
Yeah.
So people who are listening can't see what I'm showing. And y'all may not know who that is, but that's Israel Kamakaviva Ole. So I'm just representing the Hawaiian folks today on the Make It podcast, May 1st.
Shout out to Hawaiian
people. There you go. See?
Shout out to American Asians. Got a lot of American Asians in my family. As a matter of fact, a lot of people from Laos, as Papa Bear mentioned. So fantastic. And I do have listen, I've said it before. I'll say it before we wrap up here. I have a problem with aloha. And then I also love it. I love aloha, and I have a problem with it. It's the same word for hello and goodbye.
And the spirit. And remember, and you have the spirit.
In the spirit of aloha. So it's a triple entendre.
It's everything. Listen, bro, it's everything everywhere all at once. You know what I'm saying?
This is problematic. Joshua, what message do you want to leave with this audience? Any last words of advice, any last words of camaraderie, whatever you want to say? The floor is yours, sir.
It has been a really tough 4 or 5 years to be in entertainment. It's been really tough the last 5 years to be a filmmaker at every level, whether you're, the guy that's doing transportation to business and legal affairs all the way at the top. I truly believe in the art of filmmaking, and I truly believe that art is not in any way dead or going anywhere. In fact, I got to watch the first 20 minutes to the new Twisters coming out this summer with Glenn Powell, and I hope that is a theatrical powerhouse, because you have to go see it in theaters to feel the tornadoes on screen. I truly believe we're going to see from 2025 to 2030 what we saw from 1995 to 2000 in terms of the type of movies and art that is going to come out, because we as filmmakers, we as creatives have to take back our industry and say, this is ours for the sake of making film. And it's not about the bottom line. It's not about monetizing content in a Pac-Man kind of way. We're here to make art in all of its form. We have to be smarter about how we do that in terms of budgets, but I really think that the next 5 years are for the indie creators.
Oh, that's awesome. Here. Yeah, I'm loving that. I'm loving that.
Yeah, a message of hope.
Chris, yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. Like the idea that we can take it back. Mm-hmm. I think that's what everybody wants right now. I think, but here's the thing. I want people to stop buying the crap, right? Don't talk bad about it and then go watch it. Don't talk bad about it and then go pay for it, right? Like, show it. Again, we don't want it to be about the bottom line. So stop giving them reason to think that this works. And hopefully that's what will start to change their minds, is that those dollars start to go to things that make sense.
And for these studios,
I haven't seen Adam Webb yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Then
I won't memorize that one.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah,
wait, Chris.
I haven't either, obviously, but
and before we let Josh go, we're gonna do something real quick. This is for you, Chris, and Josh. Please. Just quick, real quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the names of 3 movies.
Okay.
All of these movies are lawyer centric. I want you to tell me which one's the best one.
Okay,
That's all. It's not going to take long.
Michael
No. You don't get to say what it is.
Okay,
I'm going to
sorry.
tell you what they are. Okay. And you have to pick from these three movies. All right. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Number one, Philadelphia.
Angry Men.
All right. Philadelphia. Number two, My Cousin Vinny. Number three, The Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate.
I'm going to go Philadelphia.
There we go. We got Philadelphia. We got A Devil's Advocate. Now I'm just gonna have to go in the middle and be like My Cousin Vinny. Because,
I was gonna say I think all of those movies are fantastic.
They are.
I will say this: if you go back and watch My Cousin Vinny now, it kind of doesn't hold up the way not in the way that Neverending Story doesn't hold up anymore. No. But that we mentioned on a previous episode. But I think those other movies do hold up a little better over time than My Cousin Vinny. But Marissa Tomei is beautiful.
Josh
she's great.
Yeah,
Josh. I would say for My Cousin Vinny, I really want to say that's one of the more honest portrayals of actual courtroom dialogue, courtroom interchange of what it's really like to be an attorney versus what you see on TV. I think My Cousin Vinny does a really good job of actually portraying that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great point because I would say The Devil's Advocate is not like that, but it can't be like that because it's got a lot of shit going on. It's got stuff going on. That's kind of, there's I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But,
but we're telling everybody needs to watch those.
Everybody needs to watch those three. But there's so many. I probably wouldn't be an attorney without that movie. So
see,
I wouldn't be an entertainment attorney without that movie. It's part of my film repertoire that led me to be an attorney and in the creative arts. So
that's awesome. I
think that's great, and I'm really thankful for your message to the audience. I really felt that way about Barbie last year. I really felt that way about Oppenheimer as well. You have to go see it in the theater, or you didn't really watch it, and they're just different. They're just different in the theater. So when that comes out, Twister, but everything else that comes out that where sound is going to be impactful, the visuals are going to be impactful. Go watch it and support film, especially if you love film and you want to survive. And after all, when the movie theaters and the studios got split up 70 years ago or more, it was the theaters that bailed out the studios. And now we need to help those theaters out in return. Josh, tell everybody where they can find you, my friend, on social media,
so you can
on
find
the internet,
me
and maybe contact you and hire you.
You can find me on Instagram at Lastine Law. You can find me on my website, LastineEntertainmentLaw.com. Just Google me. I'm pretty easy to find.
Gotcha. So you heard it right here from the man himself. Go to Instagram at Lastine Law. You'll find him. And then the website one more time is Lastine Entertainment Law.
Entertainment Law.
Lastine Entertainment Law. That's spelled Lastine. Lastine. If you're watching this podcast or listening to it, guess what? You already know how to find it. So I won't waste time telling you to go to YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. But if you do want to reach out to Nick, see, that was the secret. That was the thing. If you want to reach out to Nick, you can find him at Instagram at they call me or they call him.
They call me Mr.
Yeah,
Bugs.
They call me Mr. Bugs. So they call me Mr. Bugs on Instagram, new page. Check it out. He's doing some awesome stuff there. You can also find him on Reddit at Nicholas Bugs. And you can email him at nick@bonsai.film and let him know how you feel about all the things he said during this conversation. You can reach out to me on X. I'm at Flame in Your Heart. That's spelled UR. So your is UR. So Flame in UR Heart. Or you can just search for Chris Barkley and I will come right up. Go to our website to learn everything else about the podcast. That's themakeitpodcast.com. And please, while you're there, peruse. We have a shop that has incredible gear for you. Support the sort of ethos of Make It, right? Like talk about double and triple entendres, right? Like this is your calling card on set at festivals, you name it. We have a bunch of gear there for you. We also have buttery soft t-shirts at Cotton Bureau. So you can go to Cotton Bureau and go to our shop. So just go to cottonbureau.com and then search for the Make It Podcast. Our shop will come right up. You'll be able to get some custom t-shirts that you cannot find on our the makeitpodcast.com or bonsai.film sites. So definitely go check us out there. And last but not least, please do subscribe to our bi-weekly newsletter called Indie Insights. It is an incredible little newsletter our whole team puts together. We're so passionate about it, and we didn't want it to be some aggregation of articles you can already find on Deadline or Hollywood Reporter. So we really scour the web to find esoteric stuff. And then we also give you a bunch of insider stuff that you just can't get because there's a paywall behind it that we're like sharing anyway. So there you go. Be an insider. Go to bonsai.film/subscribe and join Indie Insights today. And with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Of course. Jim, I'll leave you with the credo. Josh, this was great, man. We appreciate you. I'm so glad that we were able to do this, able to connect. You know, we've been trying to do this for a hot minute, and you know, you never let it go. You're like, we're gonna make this happen, you know, no matter what. And we did it. Again, I appreciate you, all the insight, all the hope also that you're giving to the community. And I do hope that people do reach out to you. I think this is very important for independent filmmakers. I think it's independent creatives, independent business people, whatever you are. You need these legal protections. You need to understand how to read a contract. You need to understand what's in your best interest. It's the core of what you need as a creator. Reach out to Josh. Again, Lastine Law. Let's make that happen. Lastine Entertainment Law. So with that, I'll definitely say to our friends, our family, our fellow creatives out there, our fans, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, Josh, talk to you soon.
Thank you all.
Sir, appreciate you,
man. Keep fighting the good fight, guys.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, fellas, take it easy.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Laters.